I just picked up this 2003 Ultra Classic. As you guys can see, it's been sitting around a long time in a shed or a barn or somewhere. It's got a lot of dust on it. The battery was dead. My booster pack was dead. So then we put some fresh gas in it, put a brand new battery in it, and it fired right up, surprisingly. Other than that, I haven't looked at this thing at all. We're going to go through it together, and in a couple of days I have to drag this bike down to Florida because I want a bike down there. So we're going to figure out what's wrong with it. Hopefully there's nothing major. Let's find out. Got the bike lifted up in the air now. We're going to do a quick walk around, see what we can find. It is an 03 anniversary edition, as you can tell by the badge there. Not that that means a whole lot to me. They're all the same, the early twin cams. The floorboard's off on this side. Rear passenger floorboard's off on this side. The bike has high K. What do we got there? 148, almost 149,000 kilometers. Other than that, it's got aftermarket exhaust, which is, let's see what we got here. LA Choppers exhaust on the rear. Other than that, the bike looks mostly stock. This saddlebag here has been changed out. And this floorboard has been pushed forward. So I'm assuming this was in an accident at some point, or something happened. But in order to be pushed forward like that, I'm assuming it got hit. The cover, as you can see, the snaps are still in here. This cover was broken off on this side. Air cleaner stock. Everything else is stock. This crash bar is not stock. Do we have a name on it? Oh, maybe it is stock. It might be stock. Both the lowers are loose. This one's been painted. This was originally blue. So that's not from the factory. We're going to have to dig into this bike a little bit more and see what we can find. Hopefully the floorboards and everything else are somewhere in these saddlebags. Do we have anything cool in here? No. Some torn up papers. Oh, is that the keys? Well, we got the keys. That's good. Oh, there's the floorboards. So we got both the floorboards in here for this side of the bike. That's not attached. The tour pack's way up there now. Let's see if I can get up there, see what's in there. A bunch of junk, some batteries, lantern, pump for the shocks, whole lot of nothing. While we're at it, might as well look in this saddlebag. Same thing, there's a bracket there, I'm assuming for the other side. Anything in there? What is that? Nothing. But yeah, that's about it. We're going to start digging into this. I think I'll take the exhaust off, check the cam chain tensioners, drain the oil, do all the maintenance stuff, and then head down to Florida. So here we have everything that I need to do the service and maintenance on this bike. If you guys ever wondered what $1,000 at Harley looks like, this is it. Oil, filters, brake pads, and gaskets, all added up to just over $1,000. Was it? There, $1,050 for basic maintenance. Then on over here, we've got the headlights. They're just cheap ones off Amazon. We're going to slap those in because the headlight's not working and they're just better than OEM. So I'm going to start by tearing this exhaust off. On the other side, I'll get the camera set up and let's see what these cam chain tensioners look like. In order to get to all the bolts on the cam cover, We're going to have to take the exhaust off, the floorboards off. Passenger floorboard might be able to stay, we'll see. But everything else has to come out of the way, so we'll start with the chrome shields and the floorboards, get to this cam cover, we'll get that off, and then we'll be able to see what the cam chain tensioners look like. If you've ever wondered what holds these covers on your exhaust, it's just hose clamps on the back. There's usually either a slot for it there for a screwdriver, or in this case I'm using a socket, a 5/16 I believe, yeah, 5/16 socket, and you just undo the hose clamps and pull them right off. Now that we've got the floorboard out of the way and the covers off the exhaust, we're going to undo the exhaust. It's got clamps here. I believe there's a clamp here. And then you got your bolts up top. There should be 2 on each head. This front one's a bit of a pain to get to. I'm hoping I can do it without getting these lowers off, but we'll see. We're going to get that off, get that out of the way, and then we can get to this cover here. Just gonna go take this saddlebag off, and then I realized, remember this side of the bike we believe has been in an accident? Well, the saddlebag's just zip tied in there. It's missing the metal clips that usually hold it in. So I'm gonna cut those zip ties off. Let's see what's behind that. I do have clips off of another bike here somewhere, and if we can, we'll put this back together properly. Now that I've got the exhaust out of the way, I can start pulling the bolts out of the cam cover here. This middle piece here you can leave, there's nothing behind that. While I'm at it, I'll do the transmission. I got new fluid and stuff for that. The back here, I don't see any reason why these saddlebags won't go back in. The clips are there, they look fine, so I'm not sure why they were zip tied on there. I'll get some clips for that, put them back on properly, but let's start here. Well, this is a nice surprise. Somebody's upgraded this to the Screaming Eagle cam plate with the hydraulic tensioners. This one's good. The chances are the one in the back is good. Normally the front one wears out before the back. Just because it has the Screaming Eagle cam plate in it though does not mean it's got Screaming Eagle cams. I'm not going to keep going to see what cams are in there. I'm just going to put this back together because of the timeline I'm on, and this is going to save me time. Just get everything back together, get everything else done, and get it on a trailer down to Florida. But if you're doing this, your cam plate very much might look like this. This is the stock Harley one, and this tensioner here is actually gone out on this one. There's very little left on that. That's the tensioner that you replace. There is one behind here, as I was saying. Right there. That one normally does not wear out as fast. These are Screaming Eagle cams, but I'm not going to go through the trouble of trying to change everything right now. I might do it at a later date. We'll see. But right now I'm going to throw this back together and we'll move on to oil changes and brakes. One more thing before I start putting this all back together. If you guys do want to know how to do your cam chain tensioners or your cams, we do have a video on that. We did it to a Softail a couple years ago. I'll link that in the description. Now that I've got that all put back together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back here and do the rear brakes while everything's off, while there's no exhaust or anything in the way. This bar here, you can see they actually cut it. There used to be bag rails here, but I guess, I don't know what happened. Maybe after the bike was in whatever accident it was, they were damaged, so they cut them off. But this rear brake, you can do it one of two ways. I'm going to do it with the tires still on, so you got to get in here, push the pads back, try and slip them out, slip the new ones in. It's going to be a lot of cursing and swearing, but it's the other alternative is to jack up the bike, take the tire off, and do it that way. It can be done with the tire on. It's just a bit of a pain. What's holding these rear pads in is just these two pins right here, and it's a 12-point quarter-inch. You're going to crack those loose, and then what you got to do is get in behind here and push your brake pads back, pushing the piston back. What I didn't show is I've undone the cap on the master cylinder, which is just in front of your floorboard there, just so that we can push the fluid back. So we're going to crack these loose, try and push these pads back with a flathead screwdriver or whatever you got. Now with the brake pads out, you can see here you have two pistons that push the brake pads on each side, front and rear. The back ones are a little bit of a pain. You probably see me trying to get in there to make sure they're pushed all the way back. You do want to have those pistons as far back as possible. It'll just make the reinstall way easier. So take the time, go slow. They don't go back real fast. Just keep working them until your pistons are pushed back in. Otherwise, you're going to fight with the new brake pads, which you're going to do anyway, but it just makes it way more difficult. I've got the rear brake pad in now, so what I'm going to do is I've got a little punch here, and just want to go in, make sure these holes are lined up perfectly. Move it around with the punch. Might have to get my hand back behind there, so that way I can get the bolts back in. Before I put the front one in, I want to make sure the back one is where I need it to be. These pins do have a taper on them, so it will kind of guide itself back into place. Now that the rear brakes are done, I'm going to get everything back together, put the exhaust back on, floorboards, everything else, and then we'll jump to the front brakes afterwards. I forgot to mention, but before we put the exhaust back on, we do have new gaskets. They're just a crush style gasket that gets crushed when you put the exhaust on. You should be able to just take a pick and get the old gaskets out. Depending on how old and how long they've been in there, they might come out in chunks. But I do recommend changing them. Because that one's been in there a long time, but that's all it is. Grab a little pick, pull it out, put the new one in, then put your exhaust on. Now that this is all back together, we're going to jump into the front brakes here. I still got to figure out what I'm doing with that side cover. I do have a plastic welder kit, but it's not in this garage. If I have time, I'll go get it and maybe weld or plastic weld that. I do believe I have another side cover. It's blue, but at this point any cover is better than no cover. So let's get into the front brakes. It's basically the same process as the rear. get those done. Moving on to the headlights now, I believe only one of these lights work. So we got an Amazon headlight and pot lights, just the cheap ones. They do all right, they're way better than stock. So we're gonna get those slammed into the bike now. Hopefully, with the new lights on, yeah, we only have that one pot light. So hopefully with all these changed out, everything works fine. I don't know how well you guys can tell on camera, but I put the one in on the right hand side there. It's way better than this stock one here. These lights here come with a connector built into them. If you guys were watching there, I don't know if you've seen it, but I cut that off and I just put spade connectors in. You can put the spade connectors right onto here and leave this connector in, but you're just jamming more wires into that headlight or the pot light bucket there. So I get rid of them. I put the spade connectors right to here, and then I still keep these. Always keep them, you'll use them later on, but just to decrease on the amount of wiring you're stuffing in the bucket. I'm putting the new LED headlight in. And this kit actually came with a new headlight bucket. Before this, what we've done in the past is you had to go in and cut your inner piece in here so that the back of the light would fit into the bike. But it's kind of nice that this kit comes with a new one. That way we don't have to take this one out, cut it, and put it back in. So we're going to swap these out, put the headlight in, and then we're done. As you guys can see behind me, the headlights are in, the pot lights are in. We got everything all buttoned up now. I'm going to clear off the lift, get everything put back, and then all I got to do left is an oil change, and we'll get this thing on the trailer. So if you guys remember, the floorboards were already off on this side. There was a bolt missing there, so I tried to put a new one in, and of course that hole is stripped. So I went around to see, make sure everything else was tight, and one of the bolts, I believe this one down there, is stripped as well. It's not tightening up. So then I went to pull the drain plug. It's full of gasket maker down here. So I don't know that I want to try and pull that out right now. I think what I'll do is I'll pull this cover off. I'll take whatever fluid is in there out with a suction, and we'll just refill the fluid. Going to pull this cover off, and as you guys can see, that one there's a Torx, that one there's 3/16 Allen, then we got another Allen right there, then we go back to Torx there, and behind this floorboard, another Allen. So, mixture of bolts. We'll see if I can find a matching set to put back in here, because that would be a pain in the ass to try and top fluid up if I had to on the side of the road. If you guys are wondering why I'm pulling this cover instead of this cover, which would be easier to get to, the simple reason is Harley gave me this gasket. They didn't give me that gasket. I can pick up one of these gaskets, but this thing's got to go on a trailer here in a couple hours, so I don't have time to get it right now. So we're going to put the fluid in through here because I have a gasket. And as it turns out, there is no fluid in here. So it either leaked out, or because the floorboards and everything were off, they did something inside the primary and they just never topped it back up, which could very well be the case as well. I don't recall there being a puddle under this bike since I got it, but that doesn't mean that it didn't leak out. I don't know how long it's been sitting for. So we'll top it up, we'll keep an eye on it, and at some point I am definitely going to have to change this because we got strip bolts. So either heli coils and try and fix the strip bolts, or we just change the inner and outer primaries. But the bike is charging, so I'm not worried about that. The clutch pack looks alright, but I'm not going to start tearing it apart right yet. We'll see how the bike rides, and if we have to, when we're down in Florida, we'll tear it apart down there. We've made it to the last en route here before the border. We're going to be crossing here in about half hour, 45 minutes. As you guys can see, this is why I didn't clean the bike. It just got absolutely filthy on the way down here. It was a blizzard when we loaded it. That's why there's no footage of me loading this thing. I just wanted to get it on the trailer. But I'll show you guys a bit of the clip of how we got to here. We've made it down to Florida. That was a long drive. We drove straight through, as you guys will see from the time lapse. It's 7:30 in the morning here. I'm gonna let it warm up a bit, unpack, and then we'll get this bike unloaded. Unfortunately, none of the audio turned out on this first test ride. I didn't realize that till I got back home to Canada, and I don't remember what I was doing yesterday, let alone what I was saying a week ago. So I'm going to time-lapse this part. The moral of the story is the bike turned out fine. It ran fine, it rode fine, it's handled fine. So enjoy the next 30 seconds, minute of time-lapse. Just as I got finished washing the bike, it started raining. As you guys can see by the video there of us riding, the roads are still wet. Sun is coming out now, so I decided to pull over, get a good look at this bike. Now that it's all done, we're down here in Florida. Been riding it around. Everything's good, everything's nice, ride's good. Pretty sure it's just a stock motor, stock transmission, stock everything. It's a dog, but these years of Harleys, they were, even the newer ones are still a dog. All in all, this has been great. I'm gonna head over to Harley dealership right now. I ended up buying a gas cap, the button here. As you guys remember, that was broken off, so I ended up getting the push button. I gotta go back to Harley because they charged me twice for it. They open up here at 10 o'clock, so we're gonna get back on the bike, head over to Harley, and that'll be it. I have to head back north now. I'm gonna leave the bike down here so I have something to ride over the winter when I do come back. In the spring / early summer, I'm gonna be riding this bike from Florida back to Canada. We're going to do a few more upgrades to it, get it ready again for next year. We kind of just pieced it together to get it down here, but next year I want this bike to be even better. Let me know what you guys want to see it done to this bike. A few things, bars, stereo, some upgrades here and there. I don't know if we're going to get into motor work. I don't really need that for this bike. It's just here as a Florida bike. I don't need to go fast down here. But let me know what you guys want to see and maybe we'll do that. As always, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.